So we are back from our break with Kelsey. I did want to go ahead and continue about your backstory and where you came from. So, as a child, what was your relationship like with your parents?
Oh goodness. So my real biological dad, he left before I could really remember him. He like popped up here and there every once in a while, but I think I've seen him like one or two times that I can remember my whole life. And then he passed away right when I turned 18. And then my mom, her parents, so my maternal grandparents raised me, and my mom was in and out of jail, in and out of prison, rehab, the whole nine. So we never really lived with her or consistently. But yeah, it was rough. It was a rough childhood, but my grandparents did the very best they could. My grandpa drove a taxi, and my grandma stayed at home with us. So we were not well off by any means, but they made sure that we had clothes and food on the table and a roof over our heads. So yeah, it was my relationship with my mom though. I think my family was so disappointed in her for going down this, path of addiction, because my grandparents didn't suffer from addiction. They didn't, my mom lost everything, and they never seen that. So they didn't, I think it's that they just didn't understand it. So they would talk really badly about her. And I was a little girl, and I can like vividly remember being at the dinner table, and then my grandparents saying like, well, Lynn's on another mission. And that's what they would call it when she would go out on a binge. And
Mm,
I just remember them talking so badly about her. And me, I was so tenderhearted and so sensitive. And I felt that like nobody loved my mom, and like nobody cared about her. So it made me care about her even more and love her through all these flaws. And so once she got out of prison and, really stayed out for good, I was 12 years old. And, I was entering in those like, preteen years, teenager years. And we got really, really close. But it was only close when she was around, which, like I said, wasn't
mm,
consistent. So, the second I was old enough to like really try drugs and do drugs, I was like, 13 was when I started like with the gateway drugs, smoking pot, pills, stuff like that. And then once I was like 16, 17, I was able to drive. That's when I moved into the harder drugs. And I went to my mom, like, hey mom, look, I'm doing drugs now. You can't tell me nothing. But it
wow.
was that really bonded us. Sadly, like looking back as a mom myself, I like cannot even believe this, but it's just the truth. That's what bonded us, and we became really close over our shared drug use. And
Wow.
our relationship, I would say, actually became a relationship. We were hanging out all the time. You know, in my head, I felt like she was being a mother, but as a mother myself, that's not what a mother does. Like I know that now, but so yeah, my relationship with my mom was it was very different. It wasn't until she got sober, then I got sober, 15 years later, that we really had that mother daughter, a healthy mother daughter relationship.
Yeah, but you just probably desired it at all means.
All the yes,
It didn't
desperately,
matter. Yeah, no, I totally
desperately.
get that. Do you feel like your childhood and your upbringing impacted your decisions later on in life?
100%. And I hate to even say that because a lot of people, and especially my mom in particular, she she it's hard because like she feels like I'm placing the blame on her, and I'm not. I was still a child, but I was old enough to know and be aware of the decisions I was making. But I 100% went that route with the intention of like, this is going to bring me and my mom close. You know what I mean? And it did. Like, it really did. It's not like I thought that, but it didn't work. And so I just quit. Like, no, I had that intention of, I'm going to do these drugs and I hope I like them because then my mom will want to hang out with me. And that's exactly how it happened, because once we both started using, she was using my car, and, like she could use me at that point. You know what I mean? Like I was actually in high school, but I had a job. So like I was the one buying the drugs, and I was the one giving her the ride to and from. So like I had something for her at that point.
Mm,
And that's like a lot of what it is in addiction. You don't have friends in addiction. You have
no.
people that you use and they use you back, and you're okay with it because you don't have it, what's your other alternative? So yeah, I would definitely say that my childhood and upbringing had a huge impact on the way that I went in life. I often wonder, if I was raised where addiction was never even like a thought or a mention, if I would have went a separate route. But it was all I knew because it was all that was around. When I was
Mm-hmm.
around people that didn't do drugs, didn't cuss, didn't smoke cigarettes like a freight train, like, when I was around like I call them normal people, but when I was around
Same.
people that didn't do that stuff, I felt so uncomfortable. I felt like, oh my gosh, this is so weird. Like, because it was
Yeah.
all I was used to.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. And I know you said that you have a sister, right?
I
You have
do,
a
yeah.
sister. Okay. So she kind of has going through the same thing, same
She
kind of
is.
route.
Yep, she is. I actually am raising her youngest daughter, Paisley. I'm sure you've seen her all over
She's
our
so cute.
account.
I was showing my
Isn't she
kids.
adorable?
I was like, guys, look at this baby.
She is so sweet too. She's the most precious baby. Yeah, we were done with kids after our two. We have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old, and we were done. But then, my niece was about to go into foster care, and I just like could not. My sister kind of tricked us into like just watching her for a couple of
Yeah.
days, and I really thought that's all I was doing. And then next thing I know, she was going to be placed into foster care. So they would have had to literally take her from my arms to place her. And like my heart just would not let me do it. We had already had her about 4 or 5 days. So I was already like wildly attached to her. She was only
Yeah.
2 months old, this tiny little newborn baby, completely helpless, and didn't deserve anything that she was going through. And, my husband wasn't the happiest about it because, like, obviously we'd be starting all over. We had one baby bottle for her. I think we had like 4 outfits. We were running out of diapers because, my sister had only left us with like a diaper bag of stuff for her. That's all we
Yeah.
had. So we had to start all over again, which my husband was very stressed about financially. And because she's family, our state doesn't give you any kind of financial assistance.
Mm.
So it was a whole thing, but it feels like she's meant to be with us now. And my sister's still going through her struggles, and it's just day to day with her. It's how addiction is, one day at a time. So one day she says something, another day she says something totally different. So, we're just taking it one day at a time, and honestly just praying that, Paisley's in her forever home.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell, like, even with your husband, like, there's so many photos and he's holding her the most. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
like, it's so cute. So I think that's amazing that you can do that. And it's like perfect timing because you're clean and you seem like you're established and stable and she's still trying to figure it out. And I'm pretty sure when you talk to her, you can see through it all because you're like, yeah, I know. Like, you
Yeah.
kind of just know. Like, I know when my ex would talk to me, I'm like, yeah, okay. Like you just can't believe anything they say, unfortunately. Like you feel bad, but it's just not them. I always say he would check out. I'm like, he's not here. That's not him. Like it's his body, but he's not here. Like I used to
Yeah,
always say
that's a
that.
good way to look at it. That's a great way to look at it. Yeah, because you're not you.
Yeah,
You're totally under the influence, and that's not you.
and
Absolutely.
nobody mattered. Nothing mattered. No, your kids didn't matter. Like, my ex husband quit his job and then he started to just sell full time. And then I had to pull my daughter out of daycare. And that was extremely stressful because I couldn't afford it. I had to work still. But then that means she had to stay home with him, which means he was taking her on his little routes and missions and stuff. And that was
Oh no.
just, I was just in the car crying all the time. It was just a horrible experience. So I totally understand that whole part. And I feel like I'm a survivor, but on a different standpoint. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And surprisingly, me not ever getting on drugs or anything like that, I guess that takes like a really strong character because there was a lot of times where you just it would be easier sometimes just to escape it all, and that's what he was always doing. So I totally get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
So another question that I wanted to ask you: do you recall a time when you felt like you were at your lowest, and could you share that experience?
Yes. Oh gosh, I was in jail, and I was in there under some felonies. I was at my absolute lowest. This was my rock bottom during my addiction. And, for many years, through my addiction, I would always pray, like, Lord, like, why aren't you with me? Like, why don't I feel you? And I would always, like, you know, talk to people when I was in my active addiction, because I wasn't like one of those people, like maybe in the beginning where like I loved using and it was so fun. Like, no, once I got addicted, I hated it. Like, I knew I was better than this, but I couldn't stop or the
Yeah,
withdrawals would take over.
it's
And so I
horrible.
always, yeah, I always wanted to, get clean and like be a better person and stuff. But I just didn't know how. And, the rehabs are not cheap at all. And so I would do what I had to do to, get my next fix. And so I ended up getting some felony break-in and enter-in charges. I was like breaking into cars around my neighborhood. And the sad thing is like, I wasn't even stealing the cars. I was literally just looking for change. You know how like when you're at the drive-thru, you just put the
Yeah.
change in your cup holder? That's all I was looking for. I was just looking for change to go to a Coinstar and cash it in. And so when like one car reports a break-in and enter-in, any other cars that are reported within like a so many mile radius, you automatically get charged for those, even if you did them or not. So I had
Mm.
gotten hit with quite a few break-in and enter-in felony charges. So I was in jail and I knew I was there to stay. And I was at my absolute lowest. I remember calling my husband, who we've been together almost 14 years now, and he stuck with me through everything. Like,
Wow.
don't ask me why, girl, because I have no idea. I like tell him all the time, like, I don't know why in the world he stayed. But, I called him and I just begged him, like, please get me out. Like, please, we have the money at a very high bond, but like, you only need 10% of it. I had a bondsman that was going to do payments, and like, I was just begging him, and he would not. Like, he was at his wit's end with me, and he was like, Kelsey, like, you're safer in there than you are out here. I don't, like, I can't, And I just remember being at my like lowest point in there and just praying so hard, like, Lord, like, why can't I feel you? Why aren't you with me? And like, when I was like going through my addiction, I would always have people tell me like, girl, you need to find Jesus, you need to find God. And I'm like, how? Like, how do I do that? So I was in jail, and I was just praying constantly, like, Lord, like, I'm here, I'm ready for you, like, please just come to me. Well, it was that night a jail chaplain came into the jail, and I really wish I could remember the story that she told, but it was a story from the Bible, but it was my story. Like, she was saying it, and it was literally like my story. And I just remember sobbing, which, like, you don't do that in jail in front of all them other girls, but I did
Yeah.
not care. Like, I just had like the Holy Spirit just in me, and I just could
Wow.
not control myself. And it was in that moment that I realized, like, it's like God just put how He saw me in me, and like I just instantly, like, saw me for who I was. And like I can remember writing my husband a letter telling him that, like, I'm actually a really sweet person, and like, like, it's like I just like discovered who I was all of a sudden. I had like self-worth, and like, I knew I deserved to be better, and I was so determined to like make this time count. Like, if I'm going to be in here, I'm going to change who I am, and that was like a really big turning point for me.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So did you have to go through withdrawals in jail?
I did. It was absolutely awful because
I
jail is
bet.
already the coldest place. It's like a daggone hospital in there. It is so
Yeah.
cold. And then you're going through withdrawals in there, and they don't care. They
They
don't give
don't help
you
you.
medicine, or like, they don't care. So it was brutal, but I think it was really important for me to have to endure that to get to the other side.
Yeah, no, like that shows a very strong character because I've been with someone who's gone through withdrawals several times and I've had to break night with them and I've had to, clean up vomit and the
Yeah.
holes in the walls and all that stuff. So I couldn't imagine, being in jail and having to deal with that. But see, I mean, it's what you needed and it happened at the right
Yeah.
time and it is good because your husband was like, okay, I don't want to enable you anymore, and he knew it was probably beyond what he could help you with.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
it's always, we never understand the plan, and if we did we would question it, but it
Yeah.
has, it happens for a reason. All right, so do you ever look back and think, I can't believe I made it through that?
All the time, girl, all the time. Oh my goodness, I was literally just thinking about this yesterday, but like, I just like a lot of times I think how like I should not be here at all. Like, talk like going back to like my sister and Paisley and stuff. Like we're going through a lot right now, and that also goes back on like social media is a highlight reel, right? So like, I don't always talk about everything that we go through, and also like we're in the middle of the court process. I don't know what we can legally and not legally talk about, but we're really going through a lot and stuff. And someone had said, like, I think your sister is trying to put you through this to break you down so you'll relapse and, make it easier for her to get the baby back. And I said, I don't know if that's her intention or not, but I would never. Like, I would never. I have no doubt in my mind that I would die if I used it again, just because I was a very, like reckless addict. I would put myself in awful situations where I should be dead. And I've overdosed more times than I could count. So I have no doubt I would, you know, try to go back to that life and die. Like, I don't know why. Maybe it's just the Lord putting that fear in me. I don't know. But, like, I just know that I would not make it. And so I just, I would never go back down that route. I couldn't do it. But, I think about all I lived through and how grateful I am to have already made it out of that. And I'm also more, like, mature and wiser now, and like I'm in this like whole nesting mom mode where I just like I couldn't do that to my babies. I literally couldn't do it.
So, with that being said, I was going to ask, what inspires you to keep going every day?
My kids and my husband, 100%. Yeah, when I remember I was about to go into rehab, and this was January of 2018, and this sticks with me forever. But I would relapse, and the guilt and the shame that comes with every single relapse is like brutal. And I relapsed. In my head, I was saying, like, my thought process was, I'm about to go to rehab and get sober for the rest of my life, so I'm gonna live it up one good time before I go. So before I went to rehab, I got back on like heroin. I hadn't done that in like years, and I decided to get back on that. I was doing all different types of drugs, and I was just like begging my husband. I'm like, why don't you leave me? Like, and we weren't even married at this time. We were just partners, and we'd been together like 9 years or something. And I told him, like, why don't you leave me? Like, please just go find someone who's better for you. Like, I'm such a piece of crap. Like, please just leave me. And, he told me that he doesn't want someone else to get the best of me before he gets the best of me. And so every time, like, I think about like a dark thought or having an intrusive thought, I always think about like how my kids and my husband deserve the best of me. And all those years that I put my husband through absolute hell, he deserves this me. And, him and my kids are my biggest inspirations. I feel like I lost so much time being in active addiction. I mean, schoolmates, people my age already own their own house, and they have, no debt and this and that, boats and four-wheelers and golf carts. And, I don't own anything because I got such a late start. So I just want my kids to have so much, like, way better childhood than I had. And so, me and my husband are both very, like, very much on the same page. We're very driven, very motivated. We're doing so well that they're my biggest inspirations and my motivations. Like, they are why I get up every day and I choose sobriety.
I love that. It's crazy that you said that you don't, or he didn't want someone else to get the best of you. Because I used to think that with my ex. I used to be like, um, I don't want him to get clean and sober and then not be abusive and then be with someone else. And he's that person that I've always wanted him to be. So I would hold
Yeah.
on to it and I would drag it on and drag it on. And then, he would guilt trip me and be like, we need to be together. We're a family through thick, through thin. So regardless of whatever he did and said to me, I had to feel the pressure of we were married. So I had to be with him. So he could do whatever
Yeah.
he wanted. So it's kind of funny that we're both like on, like, it's like the same story, but different spectrums. And
Yeah.
then a part of me was like, one day I'm like, no, I have to let him go. Because if he is going to be better to someone else, then let him be better to someone else. But I'm already so damaged from what had happened that I forgot that the reason why I was with him was for my children, and my kids weren't happy. So then I was wasting everybody's time. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
not happy, he's not happy, they're not happy. So when I finally let that go and I see him with other partners, I'm like, they're not happy. he's not
Yeah.
happy. He's still going through stuff. And I'm like, it wasn't me. It was him. Obviously, there's one common denominator. So it's kind of cool that we're like on different spectrums, but it's like the same story.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really big of you that you left. I mean, that takes so much strength, especially being that y'all had a family together too. So, like, you should be really proud of yourself for that. I'm proud of you for that.
Thank you. That was, yeah, I mean, that was a lot. You sometimes you have to go through that. Like you said, our childhoods were different as far as mine and yours. Like my dad did die when I was young, but I was so young that it didn't affect me. I didn't have time to even miss him. It's kind of like I don't know. He never really existed. Like I'm not
Yeah.
sad about it because I didn't even know him. I don't know his personality. I don't know too much about him. And I had a good stepdad. I have a great stepdad, and and I have a good mom. So I had a good upbringing. So if someone would have told me that I would have got with someone the way that he was, and I would have been in an abusive relationship, I wouldn't have believed you. I'd been like, yeah, right. There's no way.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy. But I was gonna ask you when your kids grow up, do you think that they will be proud of you of your accomplishments?
I do, yeah, I do. I'm raising my kids very different than how I was raised, but I'm also not like sheltering them. I want them to know, real life things and stuff. And I told my husband the other day, like, I want my kids to know that, like, if they see someone struggling, or they can go pray with them, or if they a kid in school that don't have any lunch, like, offer them half of theirs. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just raising my kids so different than how, we were brought up. That I feel like it can't, like, it's got to make a difference.
Yeah.
It's got to make a difference. And I'm just like, I'm really proud of my kids. They are such good kids. I always say, like, I don't know how I got so lucky, but, like, people tell me all the time, like, wow, your kids are really good. They're so quiet. They sat through that movie, no
Yeah.
problem. And, they're just like really, really good kids, which I think helps me a lot too, like in my recovery. Because if I had like wild kids bouncing off the wall, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I need something. But like,
Yeah.
no, they're great kids. They are so good. But yeah, I mean, I think they're going to be all right. I don't think they're, because my husband also had a childhood very similar to mine. So I think we're doing the right thing when it comes to our kids and making sure that, like, they don't repeat history like,
Yeah.
I did.
Breaking the cycle.
Yes, that is so important. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that. Do you see yourself as a role model on social media, in life, to other people, to your kids?
I do, yeah, and I really try to be, and I think that's where it goes into like sharing the real and the raw. Like, it's like to be a role model. Like, I had someone, say, like, what does it really mean to like influence people on social media? And I'm like, well, it's more than just like lip syncing a song. You
Yeah.
really have to like be inspiring to them. You have to influence them to be a better person, or to wear cute clothes with being a fashion blogger, or like doing their makeup, or what I mean? You really have to influence them. But I really do try to be a role model. My daughter's 10, my son is 7, and this day and age, all the kids have tablets or phones, or so all their, like, I took them to the park the other day, and there was a little boy from my daughter's class, and he was like, I follow you on TikTok. And I'm like, yep, a reminder to make sure I'm posting like kid appropriate content
Yeah.
also, because, it's just the day we live in nowadays. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I do try to be, and I hope I am.
Yeah. I mean, that's all you can do, right? But I
Yeah.
mean, being on social media and being completely like vulnerable and putting your story out there, knowing that you're probably going to get a lot of hate messages or, comments or whatever, I'm pretty sure that's really hard to like not have those things affect you as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I try to just like ignore and block, but I am a very tender-hearted and sensitive person. So I would be lying if I haven't like literally cried over random people's like hate comments and stuff. But I mean, and I have 3 DUIs, so I didn't have a driver's license for like 7, 8 years. And I was literally,
Wow.
my husband was just like taking me everywhere I needed to go. And I just got them back this year in January.
Aw,
And I shared that
congratulations.
Thank you. I shared that
Yeah.
whole hearing process on TikTok, and Lord knows, like, I got so many people saying, like, you don't deserve a license, 3 DUIs, that's insane. And, like, they don't know the story behind it, but I wasn't drinking and driving. It was prescription medication. No, it wasn't my prescription, but it was Xanax. And, like, no, that's no better than alcohol. But, like, they were, and a lot of them said, like, I lost my grandson to a drunk driver, or my wife's paralyzed from a drunk driver. So I understand their anger. So, like, it just kind of comes with the territory. I can't, like, I respect their feelings, but I also would like them to be like, I like them to see it from my point. Like, I understand that. And if you, like, did come back and, like, correct themselves, then they're like, you know what, I'm putting blame on you where it's not due. I'm proud of you. Congratulations. Whereas before, their first comment was like, blah, 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 like,
Yeah.
going at me. So, I think it's all about perspective and stuff, and really, that's why it's important to me to, like, share the good, the bad, the real, the raw, the relatable, all of it. Not just like, oh, I got my license back today, but nobody knows why or how or why I didn't have a
Yeah.
license. Important to share all of it, because you never know who you can inspire. And I know, like, for me personally, I've had so many people that, like, look at addicts, like, gosh, girls, so many people would, like, question my story. Like, there's no way you were an addict. You have all your teeth, or you're actually pretty. And I'm like, addiction is
That's
not the
so messed
homeless
up.
guy with 2 teeth in his mouth. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what, like, addiction is so stigmatized, and it's so, like, one size fits. It's not, it's not like that.
Right.
Addiction doesn't discriminate. It's our pastors, our nurses, our doctors, our teachers. Like, it's like, not everyone literally, but it is, like, all
It
around
can be
us. So
anyone.
yeah, and I think, breaking those stigmas on social media is so important, because I know I've done that myself with people looking at addiction now totally differently. They're like, wow, like, it really can be anybody.
Yeah. No, I love that. If you had any other advice to give to anyone who's battling addiction, what would it be?
Oh gosh, it would be to stay strong and make yourself a goal list. Like, literally, like, write down your goals and, like, what you want out of life. Like, I know when I was getting sober and stuff, like, our counselor would have us do, like, a 5-year goal plan, and, like, mine was just, like, to keep my job and, like, have make my kids go to school every day. Like, no, dream bigger. Like, if I knew, and I've only been sober 5 years now, so, like, I'm at that 5-year point, but, like, if you would have told that girl back then 5 years ago how much money would be in our bank account right now, I would be like, oh my God, there's no way, but, like,
Yeah.
dream bigger, because
Bigger.
so much can happen if you just believe in yourself. And people, places, things, I cannot say this enough. I would hear this in, like, NA and rehab and stuff, like, people, places, things, but, like, goodness gracious, if that is not a fact, it, like, all those people that, like, were my friends, so I thought, when I was using,
Yeah.
they are not my daggone friends. I don't talk to none of those people anymore, and they are still doing the same
Same
things
thing.
that I'm leveled up from. You know what I mean? So, like,
Yeah.
really change your people, places, and things. And I had, a guy on Instagram that I was talking to and stuff, and he's battling alcoholism. And, his wife was going out to, like, a Christmas party. They were going to a restaurant, and he was nervous because, people were going to be drinking. I told him, I said, stay home, don't go, like, do not go. And he went, and he ended up drinking and relapsing, and he felt, and I said, like, that is why people, places, and things matter. So if I could give anyone some advice, you have to change those. Once you change the people, places, and things, it's hard, but it's not as hard to stay sober, and really surround yourself with people that are like-minded. So, like, I want to surround myself with, girls, Jennifer, like, girls who are like-minded, on the road to success, wanting to, like, have
Do
that drive
more.
and ambition to be better than they were
Yeah.
yesterday. And, like, that, if that's where you want to be in your life, surround yourself with those people. If you want to be a pastor, go hang out with other pastors. Like, it's
Yeah.
really not that hard. And I think, a lot of people underestimate the people, places, and things by, like, thinking they're strong enough. And it's not that you're not, or it's not that you're weak. It's a fact. It's proven. Like, change those and you're going to be good.
Aw. All right. So finally, what would you like us to take away from your interview?
I guess that no matter where you're at in your life right now, whether you're struggling with an eating disorder or addiction, or maybe you're a baby content creator and you've lost hope that you're never going to make it. I hope that, like, just hearing me talk today, that, like, that all things are possible, and all it takes is hard work, stay in the course, have some drive, and, like, find what drives you, right? Like I said, for me, it's my kids, it's my family. When I first set out on this journey, I was a stay-at-home mom. I mean, I cleaned houses like a couple of days a week just for like a little bit of extra money. But I didn't really have any drive, and I would have like laughed at you if you told me that I could do this. Like, I could sit home, or that I would have my own studio one day, or I would have literally laughed at you. But like, this day and age, anything is possible with technology, with social media, with like all the resources that we have nowadays. So like, if anyone takes anything away, I hope it's just to go for it. I hope it's like, where you're at in your life right now, you're not stuck there. You have the ability to make a better life for you, whether that is, going to rehab, or starting that YouTube channel you've been wanting to start, or starting that t-shirt business you've been dreaming about, or whatever it is. Like, you can change your circumstances. You just have to go for it. So I'm proof that you can do it. And if I got out of where I was at, I promise you can too.
See, that's amazing. It's amazing how much fear stops us from doing something that we couldn't imagine doing.
Absolutely.
Like getting sober, or owning a house, or having kids. And it's amazing that if we got over that fear of those things, how much we could actually get done. But I am
Yes.
so glad that you got time, or had time, or got some time to interview with me today.
Yeah.
I'm super excited. I'll definitely want to interview you later on, after I've done some more, and then see where you're at in life. And you'll be like, oh, I got the keys to my house that we just bought. I can't wait to hear more stories. And I want to hear more about your business as well. So we'll definitely do more about that, because I know you do makeup. I love that. So tell everybody your handles so they can follow you on social media.
It is just Kelsey Autry, KelseyAutry on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. You can follow me on any or all of those.
Yes, make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, follow, all of those good things. And thank you so much
Yes.
for joining me on the Uncut podcast. This is my second interview, so hopefully it went well. I can't wait to talk to you in the future.
Yay. Thank you so much
You're
for having
welcome.
me.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.